Okay, everybody, here we go. 12/12, otherwise known as a synchronistic event. Here we are. Was it the 11th today? Eastern Standard Time. I'm just here to goof off, be your resident nobody from nowhere, play a few little chords to start this stream off. And hopefully, you guys will get in here and goof off and say a few things here and there. I'm not here to judge people for their political decisions. I'm here to judge the concept of politics as a whole. If you're satisfied with the way politics are, I'm just going. That's the whole point of the politician, is to constantly make you unsatisfied. And so I'm supposed to remind you guys, hey, we have bigger, better tools. That's it. That's all I'm here to do. And I'm not doing this so much for you as I'm doing this for my kid. So my name's Tet, and I'm also known as Time Dad Alpha, the original Twitcher. And let's go ahead and play some music. And as soon as I'm probably going to play for the next 5-10 minutes, just like I always do. And then if you roll in and you want to say something, just jump in the chat. I don't, bar anybody from saying whatever they feel like they need to say. I say, go ahead and say it. It's all up to you. It's, just say it and own it, and we'll know where the chips fall. Context is king here. So other than that, chill out and let's have some fun. starting the morning off too, huh? It's almost noon here. In the morning there. Right here it's about 12:17 in the afternoon. Anyway, actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and jump into this and get started and talking about some weird stuff that I've been noticing lately. Take this off. Play that a little bit later. But we're going to go over here, start a combo with OG Nation, start a combo with everybody else who's in just hanging out and chilling. Like I said, I usually just play a quick intro, let people walk in. I'm only on here for about an hour anyway. Not here to do anything super duper crazy, special, entertaining, except for talk about the bullshit that's going on in the world today. So it's 4:17 over there in Australia. It's about 12:17 here in the afternoon. But it, for me, it's still, I guess, my morning. Like I get up, I sort of just relax. My life is actually really easy. This is why I can easily come in here and talk about any type of politics without getting upset or frustrated or mad or being like, oh, our country needs to do this, our country needs to do that. I was like, technically, I've had enough of that bullshit democracy, and I've seen enough tools to say you could do better. So I sit here and go, if someone's like, oh, this is the way it should be and that's the way it should be, I was like, well, what do you think it would look like if we went full AI? I like how when people, one of the number one criticisms that I get, and so I'm starting it off this way just to sort of point this out, but don't worry, we're going to get into some weird stuff today. We're going to talk about the Smith-Mundt Act that was repealed back in 2013. We're going to talk about the Defense Act that was put together at that same time that sort of repealed the Smith-Mundt Act. This is what allows the psychological operations of Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ nonsense and all that stuff to be taken to this next level height of propaganda and psychological operations. And please realize, if you're having one of those knee-jerk reactions of like, but the poor gay people, it's like, sure, whatever. But think about how much that you've heard about not just LGBTQ, but the world is ending because you need to help save the climate. All of your educational systems are being shifted to push this rhetoric over and over and over again in a propagandized style fashion. And up until 2013, this was not allowed. And if it was allowed, it was under a banner of top secret classified functions. Like right now, they're doing it blatantly and in the open, where if they want you to talk about something, they generate it in a form of, we need to protect you. And notice how they won't ever stop that. They won't ever say, oh, yeah, everything's good to go. We're on the ball. Everything's looking up and up. Notice how whenever you get a situational report and every single thing in every single category is red or bad, realize you're not talking to somebody who wants to fix problems. You're talking to somebody who wants to cause problems. And so that's sort of where I sit here and go, we could fix all these things. We could have a very happy moment understanding what algorithms can do and what they can do for us. I mean, we do this already. Hey, proud anti-vaxxer. How's it going, man? Welcome in. Thanks for the follow. If you want to, if you have any questions or how your political day is going, by all means, throw in a question. I advocate for AI governance here. That's what I want. That's how I see this whole thing, whether it be passports or travel or things that we should be able to do freely. The ability to talk within context, the whole idea of Twitter being used to take things out of context so that you can engineer people's thoughts. This isn't about conspiracy. This is just about simple psychology and how you're being pandered to by your political class more than anything else. Things that are being engineered, such as ESG scores for businesses that want that people want to invest in. If they don't have a good ESG score, people say that don't invest with this. I also point at companies like BlackRock. I point at companies like Vanguard. I sit there and go remind yourself who's in charge of this and how much money they've been putting into your politics. Fuck FTX. All this bullshit that you're hearing about. Oh, this guy over here. I was like, that guy is a prop. He's a stage tool. Right? He's not real. It's like, oh, look over here, this crazy fat kid with a Jufro. Oh, it's just like this, who cares? It's like, well, he took billions of dollars. It's like, and go look at Vanguard in comparison. Go look at BlackRock and look how long they've been doing this. We're talking, I think BlackRock right now is valued at over $20 trillion. That's more than half our GDP as the United States nation. And so the way I look at it is like, I'm not here with a perspective of I've been Republican or Democrat my whole life. Actually, if anything, I was super religious. These are all real things that I wore on my chest valiantly. I was a Boy Scout. I was a Mormon missionary. I was in the military for well over a decade, almost a dozen years. And I got out in 2016 when I saw the way it was exploding. And it really did. I'm glad I left when I did. I don't even live in the country anymore. Hey, what's going on, crew chief? Welcome in. We're just about to get started, and we're goofing off. I was talking a little bit about the Smith-Mundt Act that was enacted. It was enacted back in 1948, right after some of the issues with World War II propaganda started popping up, and it was made so that you wouldn't get another Nazi-style situation where people were propagandized told that they were horrible people if they didn't. So what's your opinion about the Twitter's file shit? I think they're letting go what needs to be let go. I think the whole idea of having an FBI agent as your second-in-command lawyer, I think that shit was crazy. I'm just like, guys, this guy obviously doesn't work for you in Twitter. He works for the FBI, and he's posing as a lawyer for Twitter. And to me, it's just like the Captain Obvious that's going on. And then when I look at Elon Musk as just the way that he does business, the way that he's always in everyone's shit and everyone talks shit about him, I'm just going, then you got a good leader going on. I mean, the guy could be crazy as all balls, but you know what he doesn't do? He doesn't tolerate shit coming from his, the people that are supposed to work for him. And that's how you're supposed to be. And so I don't care. He could go, say, hey, everyone's fired. I'm automating everything, sort of like what Bezos did with Amazon. And the problem is the people are like, but he fired all these people that needed those jobs. It's like, did they though? That was the whole point. Hey, I'm getting rid of all the other stuff, the shadow banning nonsense. Hey, we all knew that was going on, right, crew chief? We all knew this was happening. That's my whole point. It's like it's like, dude, they're censoring this, they're censoring, and what we were really watching, we had a front row seat to the 13th grade. That's what we did. We saw, the cheerleader clique over there that, told the big jock to go fuck himself, and all the other cheerleaders like, I want to be just like that. When in actuality, if that jock just turned around and broke that cheerleader's jaw, no other cheerleader would have ever done that ever again. And everyone's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you would say that. I was like, no, I'm talking about the whole idea that you have an administration that sits there that allows this type of, bullshit rhetoric, right? And it sits there and says, oh, you're not allowed to do that because she's a poor little defenseless girl and she's allowed to say and talk whatever bullshit she wants. And it's like, well, then the only thing that you can do is allow the debater to debate. If you're only allowing one side of the debate and everyone's going, oh, well, I would have said this or I would have said that, and then they realize that even their opinions about it is getting censored. What are you watching? You're not watching a public sphere type of situation. What do we got? Yeah, we saw all 5 social media companies delete a sitting president of the United States of America. On that day, I figured out exactly who's in charge of our nation. According to you, crew chief, who do you think's in charge? I mean, because I look at, this is why I was talking about, sure, you got your tech companies, but they're only doing what is allowable under the law, right? Propagandizing for the government was illegal according to the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948. But in 2013, Obama quietly repealed that. No one ever talked about it. And then all of a sudden, because think about this. 2013 was 9 years ago, right? And all of a sudden, it's like, I remember when the news sources weren't like this, where it was like everybody was repeating the same constant shit that was coming down the pipeline. And you're just like, oh, well, where are the people that don't talk like this? I was like, where are the people that? And then it wasn't until you start doing some extra research that you start realizing, hey, these things were never supposed to be extensions of the government. Journalism was never supposed to be an extension of the government, right? It was there to keep the government in check, to say, hey, we're going to call you on your bullshit when you're doing it. And for the reason for the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948, the reason that they made that is because they saw how Nazi Germany was put into, its positions of power by the overwhelming propaganda, the constant, hey, you're not a German unless you're a Nazi. You're not this unless you're this, unless you're that. And the constant shunning and shaming if you're not. Yeah, they call themselves the 4th branch of the government, trying to forget that the state is the 4th and ultimate branch. In my situation, I look at it as, if you are going to allow marketing for your country to your voters, right, which I'm totally fine with. But if you're going to sit there and tell them that the world is burning down around them, and that if they don't vote for you, then they want the world to die. That's when it's like, hey, I never heard the whole threat to our democracy. Now it's like every other news source is like screaming how the democracy is coming to a final end. The news is owned by the same people who are telling Twitter that if he does not censor, they will pull out their advertising money. That is the same exact people. Yeah, and that's why if you look at how businesses are playing Twitter and saying, oh, if you don't go with us, what else you got, crew chiefy? You don't live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic. I understand why these people are so confused, because they are unintelligent human beings. Useful idiots, if you will. I would say we had a republic. It moved into a democracy, and now we're watching the oligarchy come into it. And that's only if we stick in that human realm. This is why I say, hey, we have to remember our world, even this right now. We are a combination of ourselves, sure, our own little psyches, and the ideas of the technology that we want to use in an effort to help people become a little bit become a little bit more intelligent. So, crew chief, the idea that you have a republic, I think that's a sweet fantasy, but I don't think it's, every time that's tried and tested, the whole idea, hey, you can vote. It's like, well, do you have a lobbyist on speed dial? Well, then let me let you in on a little secret. Your vote doesn't count, and it will never count because you haven't paid to play the system, right? And so I'm sitting here and I look at companies like Vanguard and BlackRock that have definitely paid the right people, because that's all it takes. You don't have to pay the fee over and over again. You just have to find the person that's in charge of making the fees and pay that person. And that's what goes on. I mean, this is why you have those lobbyists, because you don't know those people, but that lobbyist knows those people. Yeah. And so when I sit here and I watch this, they call it lobbyists, but let's be honest about what it really is. It's bribery. It's like, hey, I pay you, and that's pretty sweet. Just remember, when it's time to make rules, you're going to let certain people off, right? You're going to let certain people get away with certain shit, right? Because that's how we get stuff done, right? I know what you mean. I remember watching Mark Zuckerberg sitting there like a lizard person in Congress, and remember right at the end when the congressman asked him to actually do something and not just spend $10 million and make this all go away. Well, it's the same thing with Pfizer. It's the same thing with any of these companies that are making billions/trillions of dollars, and then you turn around and you slap them with a fee. It's almost like, hey, I have a Ferrari. I'm going to speed in it. you're going to give me my, $100 ticket or reckless endangerment ticket. I'm going to hire my $5,000 an hour lawyer to go and talk to your judge, right? Or go talk to that politician or whatever. And he's probably going to, either yank that ticket, or I'm going to say, hey, instead of giving me a $200 ticket, why don't you give me a $700 ticket and, give me some special diplomatic immunity plates or something so this doesn't happen again. Why don't we try that? It's like people really do mess with this system in a very bizarre way. It's like, why do you think, if I go to the airport and I have to wait in this line and I have to get checked and da-da-da, but if I have my own plane and it's all chartered and stuff, there's no security checks. There's nothing. It's like, no, I just walk straight over the plane. I get on the plane. I leave because I paid the money to have it. Bada bing, bada boom. There it is. Absolutely. The way, I sit back just a tiny bit and I just remind people, you don't have to. If you don't want to be a Democrat, you don't have to. If you don't want to be a Republican, you don't have to. And I think the problem is we constantly, especially now, think about this, crew chief. Hey, thanks, Destiny. Thanks so much for the follow. I'll never ask for a subscription. I'll never ask for your money. I come here to have great conversations and to give good information, just like I did for you guys when I was working for you. I have no reason to lie. Like I said, I don't even live in the U.S. anymore. But one thing that I do want to be able to say, out loud, no matter what, is that you have the freedom to demand the same respect that you want from people, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you also means like, hey, don't treat me like that because I would never, ever treat you like that, ever, right? So let's remind ourselves that rule actually gets stuff done. That's a rule that works for the military. It's a rule that works for the religious priest. It works in your democracy. This whole your fake democracy is, I think, a better word to describe it. The problem I think is also like these things that are being engineered, this constant identify yourself. It's almost like the moment that the word politics even gets brought up, you have to have it in your back pocket ready to go to be like, oh no, I know the answer to this. I know the answer. I'm a Republican. Oh, I know the answer. I'm a Democrat or I'm a liberal. First time chat, Destiny, Time Dad Alpha. Do you think some streamers are federal agents? Not informants, but officially trained agents for the U.S. government, where their primary assignment is to be a streamer. Hey, you know what? I take that one step further. I say, not only is that possibility, not only could that actually be happening, but I say, how do you know that I'm not AI itself? How do you know I'm not an artificial, intelligent thing with certain syntax that has been carbon copied from somebody else to appear as something alluring for you to talk to, right? And that's the way it's going. Correct. I would never force anyone to take a vaccine, especially if it was an emergency use in order to be a part of a normal society. I agree. Do not do unto others what you would have not do unto yourself. Yes. So, both sides, that's two separate questions going in two different answers, two different situations. First, do not take this silly thing that they keep claiming that is a vaccine, because that's all it is up to now. And I will remind people of the number one thing. I don't care if it's science. I don't care if it's technology. I don't care if it's mathematics. The burden of proof is on the person who makes the claim. If they haven't proven it to you, then seriously, there's no proof. That's it. And so this constant idea that you claim that there's dinosaurs roaming the halls of the Capitol, right? And I'm going to go, oh, well, do I have to go check it out? I could, but you have to prove it to me first. Do you know anywhere where, let's say we got Destiny saying, do you know anywhere where there's official statements on this? I wish there was more transparency on PSYOPs of our government does amongst us. I'm wondering if they're allowed to be streamers and are sometimes. I don't know about the exact concept of streamers, but I know that the ability to take psychological operations directly from your government to the people has been allowed since the NDAA, the National Defense Act, that was put into place in 2013 by at that time President Barack Obama. And what that did is that repealed the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948, which said that you couldn't do that. And if it was, it had to be under the guise of classified systems such as like Project Mockingbird or Project what's it called? Like MK Ultra and stuff like that, where they were allowed to perform certain tests without the knowledge of people, without the knowledge of the people that they were performing on, because that's how it was supposed to work. Unfortunately, now they don't have to tell you damn thing. They don't have to tell you anything that they're doing. They can just sit there and go, "Oh, that was just a paid advertisement, blah 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 by this," right? Yeah, I was just reading about the Smith-Mundt Act thing and the NDAA. What does that they can do exactly? What does that mean? Well, think about this. They've come up with these special words, and they've been doing this ever since. I would say the moment that I got into it was back during the Bush administration with Dick Cheney and what he did with the Council on Foreign Relations. Notice how, whether it be the Council on Foreign Relations or the Federal Reserve, notice how they have these special names. Or even before the NDAA, you had Bush put in the Patriot Act, which basically was able, you were able to go, anyone you called a terrorist or that they labeled a terrorist, all your rights just got removed because of that act, right? And so when you say, hey, what does this mean? I say what it means is that the education that you're going to need is not going to come from your accredited situation at the Department of Education. It's not going to come from a college. It's going to come from you recognizing when you're being lied to, right? And that's and that's a personal ability that you have to start creating for yourself. And I think the best way you could do that is you decide what books you're going to read. You decide what type of politics you're going to be about. Like, for example, for me, I am not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I have never voted in the United States because I think it's a scam. And I'm sitting here going, how I would fix it, because that's what the military taught me how to do. Is like, you never show up with a problem, you show up with a solution. You need to realize that the algorithm is nothing more than a standard of operations. That's all it is. And you look at that operation, it's no different than a flow chart. And so when you fix that to say, hey, we want the best possible outcome for each and every individual person based off the decisions that they want to make in their life, let that be the pinnacle of existence for that AI, right? And then unleash it to its highest demand. So if someone's out there going, hey, I would like to be the best next Jeffrey Dahmer, right? I'd like to be the best next Unabomber. I'd like to be the next best whatever, right? The thing is obviously going to sit there and go, this is a detriment to society, right? It can notice that, hey, there's going to be an increase in anxiety for people, blah, 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 blah. Does the NDAA/Smith-Mundt Act thing mean that fake events or in order to push some agenda? You're talking about false flag events. Like, some news stories didn't happen, but it's an example of what could happen that they created in order to push some agenda. By the way, this is effing cool. I found you. Thanks for the answers. Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. What I would say is this. You can notice where and how they are pushing this by how fast people are replaced in the news. Like, I always found it interesting that you have the conservative mindset, means tried and true, right? That's the conservative mindset. This is also why I set up this background in this way. This is supposed to represent that idea of the right side of the brain, what you would also consider the left-leaning politics, where it's very expressive, it's artistic, da-da-da-da. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's almost like a collage. On this side, you have the concept of the right-leaning politics, the left side of the brain, where it's concise, it's ready to go, the symbols are there, they're crisp, da-da-da. So you have somebody like Tucker Carlson who comes in, he says what you're already thinking. He says, oh my gosh, here's the problem that's caused by the left, right? And then here comes Tucker Carlson with the obvious answer. But guess what? That answer never actually follows through with anything. It's almost like saying, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? 2 + 2 = what, people? Oh my gosh, how are we ever going to find that answer without a calculator? Oh my goodness, da-da-da-da-da. And that's all your left-leaning bullshit. Next thing you know, you have a Tucker Carlson and Fox News. It's like, well, it looks like we could use this calculator to get to the answer 4. So let's just remember that from here on out, okay? And then that's just wash, rinse, repeat. That's wash, rinse, repeat. So they'll tell you the answer. They cause the problem. They tell you the answer. Da-da-da. They give you that bullshit that you need to. They tell you that if you don't follow, you should feel shunned, shamed, ostracized by your society. And I'm going, this is old school scam techniques. This is how multi-level marketing scams work, from the beginning of time, right? This is how, you would scam somebody. And so when I look at politics today, I like to use the word patsy politics, because it's like playing hot potato with who's going to hold the potato when the shit hits the fan. And how are they going to sell this bullshit back to the American public? Like, oh, we need to bail out the banks, and we need to bail out the car dealerships, and we need to bail out these people because they're just too big to fail. It's like, no, you paid off the right person so that they would come in there and bail you out because they got you elected. You know, they put you in there knowing that this was going to happen, knowing that that you as the politician were already a bought and sold employee of these corporations before you even got there. Right? And that your whole job, because you're a lawyer, actor, businessman, that's all you are, is to sell it to the American people that this is in their best interest. Otherwise, the world is going to fucking end. And so I'm sitting here on the corner, and I hope there's a bunch of other people that would want to sit on that corner with me and just point at it and be like, bullshit. Like, they want to be able to watch the January 6th nonsense and go, that's bullshit. They want to be able to watch this FTX stuff and nope, that's bullshit. Call me back when you get Vanguard on the phone or you get BlackRock on the phone. These companies have been doing this. What FTX just did in the last couple of years, they've been doing this for well over decades now, right? And so I sit there and go look that shit up. Reading up on Ray Kurzweil really opened up my eyes. Hey, man, that is awesome. Like, I'm glad that you went and looked that shit up. Were you able to find his TED Talk with Juan Enrique? Because if you put that together, you'll understand why I advocate for AI governance too. You'll understand it's like, dude, this, not only do I advocate for it, I also put out there that, hey, this is inevitable. I hope we all get on, the skateboard together because this is where our world is going. It's like, nope, but I definitely will now. Yeah, for sure. OG Nation, Ray Kurzweil, if you look at his motivations, and you can tell a lot about a person by their motivations. Like, for example, my motivation, and the reason I'm doing this, the reason I called myself Time Dad Alpha is because I know 10 to 20 years from now, my son, who was just born a couple months ago, the same day I started this stream, right? I know he's going to look this up, and he's going to say, hey, Dad, where were you at, and what were you doing? And if you knew all this stuff, why didn't you say something? And I look at Ray Kurzweil, and I look at his motivations of why he wants to sort of push this idea of the three levels that we're only going to expand in from here on out. He's like, we are going to expand in nanotechnology. We are going to expand in robotics, right? And we are going to expand in AI. Those three right there. He's like, you can forget about your geoengineering nonsense. You can forget about all your other stuff, the world of, global warming and all that hoax nonsense. Right? You have to remember that the government today is not banking on the technology pulling out the pin in the future. Now we're getting closer and closer where technology can see these lies. It can watch these lies. It can be open to, hey, this person is lying. Right? And it'll be able to put things together 10 times faster because it has a breadth of understanding context more than we do. So if there is something that's going down in the future with all this propaganda and nonsense, an AI would sit there and go, oh, no, I see you over there, you silly human, about to take a dump on, 10,000 people with this new policy in order to steal their money and steal their tax dollars. It's like, hey, I'm not going to allow that. Hey, contractors that's been living high and fat on the backs of tax-funded contracts. Yeah, that's done. That's over with. We don't need you anymore. It's impossible. Like, there's no motivation for these guys to stop doing what they're doing. None. Because even when they do get hit with egg on their face, even when they do get caught red-handed, what happens to these fuckheads? Nothing. Because they own the goddamn judges and the judicial system that would have put them away in the first place. I mean, I can imagine it right now. You being them sitting there with their hands in the cookie jar of the taxpayer money and just taking it and putting it in their pockets. And you're going, hey, I got you on film, fucker. Oh, you're totally going down. And they just walk right over to the judge and be like, hey, you're gonna prosecute for this, right? And the judge is being like, yeah, no, you own me. So it's just like, what's the point in even finding out if these guys are worth their salt as a politician when you know that they're fucking you over in the end? It's a mafia-style racketeering scam from the get-go. And so here's where I sit. It's like, what can you do about this? It's like, dude, go talk about this at your work. Talk about this at your, in your school. I've been to 10 different freaking universities, and every time I bring this up, these guys are like, no, that might happen in the future, but it's never going to happen fast. I was like, it's already happening. We got OG Nation. Work in the trade industry for 5 years. Heck, working for someone else's dream. And that's just it. Think, OG Nation, I was way hardcore than that. It's like I was in the United States Air Force, active duty, and it wasn't. I didn't start asking any of these questions because I was so blinders on, like working on stuff, like in basements, just sitting there, just I was tunnel vision. Get your job done, and my job was very sophisticated and very heavy. There wasn't time to go and sit around and look at this stuff. But when I got out in 2016. I had all my time back to myself, and I still had this high level work ethic where I was like, hey, I'm not working for these fuckheads anymore. What do I want to do? Where do I want to point my intellect to see what I can come up with? Because I enjoy the arts. I enjoy, being able to express myself in a wonderful artistic way, right? That isn't about fixing problems for people. I just sit there and go, these problems could be fixed yesterday if your fucking politicians would get out of the way. Both of them, not just maybe it's the Republicans that are in charge of doing this, or maybe it's the Democrats. It's like, no, they're both just as bad. They're both horrible. This isn't about, maybe we should come up with a different party. I was like, no, your democracy is stupid. It wasn't stupid back in the late 1700s when it was being put together to overcome the royal classes. And even then, it was a valiant attempt, but it didn't stick around that long. Very, very quickly, that hierarchical concept came back into existence where you had an infallible leader, where you weren't allowed to scream at them. And all that person had to do was be charismatic. Yeah, I'm out of work for a year now, and though people like yourself and even hate to throw the name due to the controversy, but Andrew Tate, have opened my eyes. We got Destiny. Before I go on to you, Destiny, I need to address this real quick. Andrew Tate, to me, says a lot of cool shit. It's fine with me. He says a lot but there is a part of his rhetoric which is all about making more money. And I'm just like, how much more money do you need, asshat? How much more money how many more times do you need to get laid by some random hot chick that you need to brag about? Because that's all he talks about. I was like, what's your end goal? It's like, more hot chicks, more money, more supercars. It's like, well, maybe you could take some of that time and go take care of those four kids that you have by four separate mothers. Maybe you could go do that. And then you could be a good example as a father. His response, this is what turned me off to Andrew Tate when he was like, oh, no, a father doesn't need to be in the house. Father doesn't need to take care of his kids. He needs to be out there, slaying and making money, so that the kids know what a good man looks like. It's like, no. It's like, yeah, you do have a responsibility to be the best person you can be, so that can be an example to your kid. But if your idea is that you're going to do that all while not, being around, yeah, go fuck yourself, dude. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You need to be there, not be making your next TikTok video or whining about how, you're being assaulted by the system. It's like, it's just like, grow the fuck up and be the dad. Be the person that's respectful. And if you are going to cuss somebody out, cuss them out and give them the third degree, but then also build them back up. This was the thing that we taught in the military. It's okay to break people down. It's okay to do that. But you better have a plan to build them back up. You don't let them walk away thinking that they're a sack of shit. But you don't keep it from them if they are being a sack of shit. You say, hey, you're a sack of shit. This is how you get your stuff together. This is exactly what I'm doing with the United States government right now. It's like, hey, United States government, you're a sack of shit. Get your stuff together, right? Get it all together. Get it all together so it's in one place. So, that your shit's all together, right? Let's go on to Destiny. Do military people working in psychological operations do undercover work? Absolutely. We call that the operation of special investigations, and they do undercover work all the time. They do it not just in the USA. They do it and every branch of the military has their own version. You've probably seen NCIS. It's a show that came on for a while. That's one version of it. And, yeah, there are a lot of covert operations that go on in the military. Destiny. OG Nation, I look more towards Tristan? I'm not exactly sure who that is. Like, he has similar opinions on Andrew Tate, but he speaks from the dad's point of view. And that's sort of where I'm at, too. I have to go look up this guy, Tristan. Thanks for sharing that. But I'll let you know right now, it's like I only came across Andrew Tate probably in the last month or so. And part of the stuff that he was saying was very interesting. And I was just like, wow, he's on point. The way that he was ripping these what's it called? These women apart that were all about being OnlyFans girls. It's like, hey, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. It's your body, it's your sex appeal, but there are ramifications for that, no different than the military. I say the same thing in the military. It's like, you do realize if you join the military, you're gonna have to break people and jack their stuff. That's what you're doing, right? You're basically a low-paid mercenary. Tristan is his brother. Oh, okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm not a scroller. Like, I'm the last person that likes to scroll anything. Like, I don't even have TikTok, an app on my phone, because I've researched who Tencent is, I've researched who Soundbite is, and as a guy, my job in the military was cryptologic linguistics and network engineering. And when you look into what Tencent is and what TikTok is and the type of things that they ask for in that application, it's like, dude, they're basically asking for for you to type, for them to install a keylogger on your phone and then not tell you that they're going to monitor you when you go access your bank accounts. It's like, it's very real. You need to go and remember that they are banking on the idea that no one ever reads the user agreements. And I just don't trust applications like that. I was like, you need to be a little bit, when I say it's like, people do, I'm bad at it too. I think Windows upgrades are just fraudulent as fuck. I think right now, when people are like, oh, I got a Windows update, I was like, I don't even think we're actually, logging onto our machines anymore as much as we're logging into servers. That all of our information is being passed back. This is why I say, go out, and if you're going to be online like you would be in public. If you think that you're anonymous, you're not. Trust me on that. You are not anonymous. My job for a very long time was network administration in the military. And if someone like OSI, like you were saying, Destiny, like if they walked in, they show me that piece of paper, they're like, hey, go find this guy, whoever he is, on the network, and I want to see everything he's done in the last 6 months. Every keystroke, everything he's ever done. I'd be like, I would never look at it because that's not my job. My job isn't to do the intel or to see what the fuck they were up to. I'm just sitting here going, tick, 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 tick. Okay, here's everything. Have a nice day, Office of Special Investigations. And that's all I want. That's all I want from it, because I know how, much I'm monitored on that system. And I'm saying your system today is no different. If they wanted to see every little keystroke, every little button you push, I'm just going to go, hey, I'm going to be that type of guy that has tons and tons and tons of buttons. Absolutely not. VPNs are basically tunneling protocols, but you have to understand that tunneling protocol goes through that VPN provider first. So, I know a big one out there is NordVPN. Remember, NordVPN, you are sending all of your data to them first. So let me ask you this, as a guy who wants to run a PSYOP on you and use reverse psychology. I come out there and I advertise to you over and over and over and over again. I say, hey, you need this VPN because people are watching you. They're watching you. They're watching you. And you go, well, I'm probably up to some hanky shit. I don't want people watching me. I'm going to order this VPN. First off, they charge you for that money. They take your money. Next thing, if I'm the government and I want a pool of people who are actively doing hanky shit, right, to come to me, I'm going to offer them the opportunity of being able to hide themselves and being that honeypot. So you go to them thinking that you're hiding yourself, but you're actually giving them the exact thing they're looking for. Oh, hey, here's a list of people that want to hide themselves from the hanky shit that they're doing online. So they're not going to come get you right away. This is how counterintelligence works. They sit there and wait until you do something crazy, crazy, crazy to see if there's any bigger, better fish out there, or to see if you do something even sillier so that they can blackmail the living fuck out of you for doing shit that, if they need to put some pressure on you. All you have to remember is this. You have a file. That file is connected to who you are, how you talk. It's connected biometrically to your face and how your certain mannerisms work. For example, I always say this too. It's like, if you don't think that deep fakes are absolutely viable and able today, they are. Like, I made a deep fake the other day of Obama talking like Cartman, right? Saying, talking about let's go Brandon. So check this out for a second.
Oh, please say it the way I like it, Joe Bannon. Let's go Brandon!
Yeah, I just made that the other day. It's hilarious and it's fun. But take that and extrapolate it all the way out. I'm telling you, like, here in probably in the next 5 to 10 years, the ability of entertainment and how we look at entertainment. This is why, Hollywood is on its downward spiral. No one ever wants to go to the movies anymore. No one is entertained by the stories that are coming out of Hollywood because they're all woke as shit, right? But imagine, that's hilarious. Yeah. I was like, but imagine this. Imagine this. You could go watch Star Wars and change out the people. Right? Say, for example, you don't want Mark Hamilton to play Luke Skywalker, but you would see Luke Skywalker more as a, I don't know, someone stupid. Just name another stupid actor, like, or maybe he's not even an actor. Maybe it's some trashy pop singer, like Justin Timberlake. You could be like, I want Justin Timberlake to be my Luke Skywalker, right? And you could say that, maybe because you just want to see that. You could have the entire movie play and that deep fake be, Justin Timberlake. Imagine that. And that's the new levels of entertainment that are coming. Like when people are like, oh, get Prime Video or watch this movie or watch that movie. I'm just going, guys, I don't think you get how fast this is going to change and all the new options that are going to be available, the new ways that we're going to see, being able to create. And if you can do that, like say, for example, you go out there and all Justin Timberlake's mannerisms, the way that he talks, and you have Darth Vader being played by, Michael Jackson, and you have, Princess Leia. And here's the thing, like maybe you're some crazy tranny person and you want, what's his name? Caitlyn Jenner, to play Princess Leia. Maybe that's what you want. That's what you want to see. Here you go. And that stuff's coming down the pipeline. So I look at the world and how it's going to possibly come into the future, and I'm going, why would anybody want to be a politician in this future? You have everything on the table to go live a beautiful life and put your feet up. Why would you want to be in the game of let's persuade these people to pay money? It's like, you ruined Princess Leia for me. Sorry about that, bro. You can't just go watch it again. Like Carrie Fisher ain't going nowhere. Anyway. But yeah, these are simple ideas. These are simple understandings to say, hey, sure, we have a government right now that gets away with a lot of stuff. And it's not because of power. It's because of the simple-minded nature of the typical citizen that isn't told how he's being lied to. And that's sort of what I come out here to do. It's like, yeah, sure, you're being lied to, but you don't have to be. This isn't an overwhelming situation that you can't talk about. Talk about it. You don't need a revolt for this. You don't need a protest for this. You could just sit there and say, hey, Mr. Government, I'd appreciate it if you'd step down and let AI take over. Democracy is over. Goodbye. I thought of that for a while, that VPNs could be honeypots, but I don't do anything bad. So whatevs. And that's what I'm saying. The vast majority of people are good people, and they only follow because they think that following is a form of protection. Standing out on your own is a very paradoxical thing, but it's also the same paradoxical thing that allows you to want to follow somebody. I say this all the time. I was like, name your role model, and then ask yourself, did that person ever get to where he's at or she's at by doing the same thing as everybody else? They might have had a system, but it was when they started tweaking it and making it their own that they were able to stand out from the crowd and be somebody worth looking at, somebody worth talking about. Right. And even now, when I'm looking at some of the stupid stuff that comes out of these celebrities' mouths, and I'm just like, why were these people ever considered icons of our of the American mindset? It's like, where are the other, mind-blowing people? It's like you see this list of TED Talks, where you could go there and you could learn stuff over and like the new leading edge stuff. And when was the last time anyone even said the word TED Talk? Right. I don't know how it is there. But at school, the school monitored every single thing we've done, even on our phones. I went to a local council and got shut off instantly. And if that's the case, it's like, if you want to monitor everything that I'm doing, like that's how, I'm a lot like, Destiny right now, where I sit there and go, monitor what I'm doing. I don't care. But to try and paint a picture that I'm wrong for pointing out a bigger, better tool to use, I don't think you're going to be able to do that. So I was like, hey, Mr. Politician, that you think you can beat me with your rhetoric? You probably could. Absolutely. But can you beat this AI over here that knows how you lie, that has monitored you just as much as it's monitored me? Could you beat that guy? Could you beat that intelligence? Well, then maybe you shouldn't be in that position. That's I'm just like the obvious conclusion. It's like maybe since you don't have the capability to serve me directly, but that AI does. That AI knows what I'm doing whenever I'm doing it, and he knows what's best for me personally. Can you say the same, Mr. Politician? And of course, what's going to come out of that politician's mouth is, yes, of course I could. I could listen to everything you could, because they're going to say anything and everything to festoon you. Oh, I like that word, festoon. You know, and they are. I mean, these guys will say whatever it takes to fuck with you. Anyway, hey, I don't mean to cut everybody off, but here's the deal. I only come on here for about an hour. It's about 50 minutes in, and unfortunately, I have to go early today because it's time for Daddy Bubby time. You know, usually I get out of here just to go and hang out with my son, but I came on a little bit late, so I'm heading out. It was fun hanging out with you guys. Every day I come on here between 11 and 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I bullshit a little bit about what's going on in the crazy worlds, but then I also point back to it. I sit there and go, hey, you have better options. Go check them out. Go check them out. You don't have to sit there in the constant being monitored state wondering what your government's going to do with their bullshit. Hey, well, hope you two have a great time. Peace out, my dude. And what nanobot company should I be looking at? I don't think they've got the company name on it. If there is a company name on it, I wouldn't trust it. Wait until it's something that you can manipulate on your own, just like your own personal computer. Anyway, guys, I'm heading to the piano room. We're gonna get out of here. We're gonna goof off, and we're gonna say goodbye. See y'all tomorrow. And if you want me to read something in God voice, give it to me. All right? Send me something to read.